on to rock, get up to burn. Stand with the fight, ever be your desire. One day I noticed that my life was broken. It was not me who was controlling this body. Oh, I want to know what's really real to me. Before me vanish like a wave. Get up to rock, get up to burn. Stand with the fight, I'll be the way to make it. You must have heard it. Grasp the truth, hold it high. Like a beast, that's what is made to stop with. You haven't heard it, girl. Don't be afraid to listen to your own heart. Beat the sonic, that's my heart beating you. One day I noticed that the world was broken. Spoiled as hell, we had our senses down. Oh, I would see this whole world falling blue. Not in space, Mars in black. Hey, get up to rock, get up to burn. Stand with the pride, I'll be the way to make it. You must have heard it. Grasp the truth, hold it high, raise your voice, that's how you start a new thing. You must have heard it now. Don't be afraid to listen to your own heart. Beat the sonic, that's my heart beating you.
Hello everyone. Welcome to a new Outriders Worldslayer video. Today we're running a kind of different build, the ultimate burner kill it with fire. We focus on anomaly power and doing what the build describes, burning the enemies to death. I have focused to keep the build on theme, applying only burn as our main source of DPS. However, we can modify it a little bit so you can finish off some elites or bosses a little faster with a change of a skill. Surprisingly, the timers you do with this build are very good, it's very consistent, high survivability, high damage. You can just apply burn and let the enemies just die slowly and painfully. So without any further delay, let's explore a little bit why we choose some things and how they work. We start with our skills. Heatwave is the best tool to apply burn to the enemies. It doesn't do as much damage compared to other skills, however, it's very decent, it has a very wide range, especially using the mods, and we apply burn and debuff using this. I focus in Ash Blast because we stack a lot of status power using our packs tree and some of our gear, and I do like the Ash Blast for extra crowd control and debuff the enemies, especially in comparison with overheat, that it beats the purpose of using overheat that consumes burn. So we will never consume the burn, we will apply it and let the enemies die by this. That's why I'm using volcanic rounds. Initially I used this only for the reload boost, however after trying some variations, some weapons, I did find that this is actually one of the best tools to apply burn to enemies very far away. So there are a couple of builds or varieties you can use using volcanic routes, and you can actually use reload boost or not, depending on the type of weapon you will actually choose. And let's explain what type of weapons go with this, but before that we will have a look at the armor and mods. We're using the Akari set, although it doesn't have status power to 3 out of 3 pieces. If you see the stats, skill damage bonus scales better first with anomaly power and then with status power, so the more anomaly power you have, the higher the damage for the skill and the burns will be. And the Akari set is one of the best to stack anomaly power, and because we're using Heatwave as a main source of applying burn and DPS, we will get a huge boost of anomaly power for every enemy we hit. Even if the cap is 10 enemies, 250% anomaly power is a huge boost, and it's definitely worth it. For the headpiece, I was a little lucky and I found a decent apocalypse mod. So Fire Tsunami, what we leave, increases the width of the firewall, you will hit more enemies, apply burn to more enemies, it's a must. No resistance against the fortified, a must once again mod. Although it was nerfed during the recent patch, 65% of armor piercing value converted into resistance piercing is very good, especially due to our talents, we will see that a little later, and reload boost at 25% anomaly damage. I have to say this every time, anomaly damage is the #1 stat in Outriders, and especially if you're using anomaly power focused builds, only it doesn't apply for physical damage if you're not using special rounds or skills. So 25 extra damage for everything, it's quite decent and I do like it with the type of build I'm using, and I highly recommend it. For the chest piece, I was extremely lucky. This is probably what I'm going to keep until the end. However, I'm a little unlucky in my luck because I kept detonator. I was using this in a previous build, and this is a dead mode for us. We're not going to use overheat, so if you can swap it, it's the extra use of the heat wave that I'm putting in another mode, so just replace that. And Scorched Earth, this is actually one of the new tier 3 mods that I'm very impressed. Not only it deals damage, it also inflicts burn to its path after it returns. This is very good, especially when you can apply ash, shoot the heat wave, the ash removes from the enemies, and as they pass by in front of you, the Scorched Earth just hit them by and apply burn. Very good. Or you can apply burn 2 times on elites or debuff them 2 times thanks to our other mods. And Captain Hunter, of course, 16% against elites is what we want because these are the type of enemies with the highest health. For the legs, I was once again a little lucky because burnout. Damaged enemies take 15% more damage for 5 seconds from heatwave. This stacks 2 times, so with our previous mode you can just apply burnout with 1 heatwave, which I do like, I do love, and I do highly recommend. Anomaly Echo, a default mod from the waistcloth of the Akari, and we're going to replace the other mod with power simulation. I do like it, flat increase of anomaly power for each elite present on the battlefield. Worst case scenario, this gives a little less than Anomaly Echo. Best case scenario, this gives like 5 times the amount, and one of the best options you can consider. For the gloves, the epic pieces must have not exactly these stats. Anomaly power, status power, one of them should have cooldown reduction and the other should have either skill life leads, healing received, something like that, but anomaly power and status power are a must. We have the bullet kindling, a must mod, probably with all the pyromancer builds, 12% extra damage to enemies afflicted by burn, and pyromancer basically inflicts burn by almost anything. And we have the combo Ash increase range and death sentence. So our Ash Blast hits a lot of enemies and it debuffs them to take 30% extra anomaly damage for 5 seconds. Very good, very nice, that's why I do like it and recommend it. Now for the boots, I wasn't very lucky with my drops because White Grip is a dead mode once again, and instead of status power I have skill life leech that I want to have status power instead, in order to increase a little bit the duration of Ash as well as the damage from the burn. However, the other 2 mods I'm very happy. Unstoppable Force converts 50% of resistance piercing into anomaly power, and we're going to have a lot of the resistance piercing. And Tidal Wave, we can use this skill once again before triggering cooldown. I have tried without Tidal Wave, but this makes the rotation very good, and you can apply burn to more enemies during the rotation, and I do like it, so I do highly recommend it. For the weapons, we have a lot of good options depending on the type of style you want to play. My favorite and personal recommendation is Anomaly Mutation for pistols. All the guns priority should be armor pierce, status power, and skill life leech. If you don't find skill life leech, you don't care, the other two attributes are much more important. Now, Anomaly Mutation is my personal favorite because it fits perfectly the theme of the build. Because every shot you do with your gun, and we are going to shoot our gun to proc also Fortress, and using the volcanic rounds will add extra status effects to the enemies. However, use this with your own risk. For now, I think this is bugged because certain enemies I was hitting with Anomaly Mutation completely removes the burn, but that's not a problem. You cannot reapply burn after that. That was a bug. If you cannot reapply burn to the enemies and are immune to burn, you will basically die. Burn deals like 90 or 80% of your total damage, and without it you cannot deal enough damage to the enemies and you will definitely die. So I don't know, probably this is it, because as long as I stopped using Anomaly Mutation, I didn't find the problem anymore. So this is probably the issue. If it's not for you, keep using it. I love it with Fortress and a random mod. You don't need any other mod to deal extra damage. Only one other mod is something I would recommend, but for the pistols, you cannot find 2 tier 3 mods for what we're looking for, because those mods are from primary weapons. However, I do like Anomaly, Mutation, Fortress and Pistol because 2 reasons. They have the best RPM, very decent clip size and the best reload speed, because we need to proc the reload boost by reloading our weapon. We will not switch our weapon, so we will keep Fortress and reload boost. We have other 2 choices. In case you want to still go for reload boost, I do recommend a fully automatic assault rifle weapon with, in case you cannot use the Anomaly Mutation, use Firestorm, because it deals decent damage but also afflicts burn to the enemies, and the radius of the Firestorm will increase with each successful shot, and because we keep using our guns, we will increase the radius. So I do like this mod with Fortress and the random mod now. As you can see, I'm using something without armor pierce because I do want the fully automatic version, not burst fire. This has better RPM, decent reload speed, better clip size, and you have better variety to just shoot some enemies once or twice to apply the burn and reload it whenever you want. You don't have to go with armor piece if you don't find. I would recommend to prioritize status power for the primary weapon, Fortress and Firestorm, because as you will see later, we go above 100% resistance piercing even without the armor piercing value. If you don't care about reload boost, I recommend this type of weapon. A light machine gun that has armor piece, once again status power and any other attributes. Key life lead is the best, but if you don't find it, you don't care so much. Firestorm, Fortress, something random mod, and Anomaly Mutation preferably, because once again I do like it. Now, this is not the best variant. You want a variant with 150 bullets in case you want to keep applying burn to the enemies, but I don't use this because I use it in a hybrid using yes or no the reload boost. It has decent reload speed and decent clip size, but if you want to focus completely on using volcanic rounds without reloading, this way you probably need an LMG with 150 clip size. Let's move on to our skills. Now, this is the tree I recommend because I tried the combination to go here to get more arc mates to further increase anomaly power, resistance spears, flames that burn twice, something like that. However, the middle tree has a very good advantage. First, we have magma elemental, 45% resistance and armor piercing. That's how we get a lot of resistance piercing in total, because our base resistance pierces is 51% in case we have equipped something with armor pierce, and something without armor pierce we have 31%, but we will still go above 100% thanks to magma elemental. We also get hot situation and arcmate to further increase anomaly power, and meltdown because I like to increase the percentage damage of the burn. This is our main source of DPS, and I don't take the let and burn because thanks to our packs tree I think this is overkill. And speaking of packs tree, we're going all the way to the pyromaniac, mandatory melting point, scorched flesh. We will get more status power by 10% for each ignite skill we're using. Convection, that's why I like the reload boost, because this way you will be able to spam your skills much faster, and it's better, but you can still do it using volcanic rounds, fortunately or unfortunately, and this will be probably a dead mode, but you don't care, it still works. And of course, furnace to increase status power 50% for each enemy affected by burn, and burn offerings. This is the best. This is what makes the build work basically. Increase the duration of burn by 500% and its tick to the enemy deals 24% extra damage. So basically, for a boss, for example, the Arbiter, you start inflicting burn, re-afflicting the burn every time, and it starts from around 1 million, and after, I don't know, 30 seconds you go to ticking for 10, 20 million until the enemy is dead. So yeah, burn offering is the best, and that's why we like it. For the Ascension points, basically we go everything to anomaly power and armor pierce, and then get damage against elites, and then go to endurance. You don't need to get cooldown reduction. If you have above, and you will have global cooldown reduction, go for some endurance for survivability, and then just get the other mods. If you're beginning, I do recommend go full anomaly damage, anomaly power, status power, resistance pierce status power, armor piercing, then skill life leech, damage against elites, and everything to endurance. Before we move to the alternate mods for weapons and armor, let's have a look how much resistance pierces we get. Now, we're using the weapon without armor piercing, where we have basic 10 armor pierce and 31 resistance pierce. When we use one hit wave, as you can see, it skyrockets to 105 resistance piercing and 55 armor piercing. That's why you don't need to get the armor pierce in case you have the proper mods and the assault rifle. Now, this can go even higher. For example, if you're using a piece with armor pierce instead, use your hit wave and you go to 125.2% and 85% armor piercing. Yes, the resistance piercing gets kind of crazy with including the armor piercing, because we have the class 3 for the Firestorm and Magma Elemental, that's why I like it. And the survivability you get by 50% extra hit points is quite ridiculous. You will only die if you stop using your skills and apply burn to enemies. So for the armor pieces, basically, personally, because I was very lucky, I have to replace only 2 mods. And although you basically almost unkillable, you're not completely unkillable, even if you stand still. And because I want to sometimes look cool and not die ever, I would add probably damage absorber or even, I don't know, self-medication, because we already have a lot of max health, and having 20% extra max health stacking up to 3 times another 60% health will probably make us completely immortal. And I do this because there is only one spot left after that for an extra mod, and probably I have all the mods I'm happy with. I don't want to add mods that increase a lot of damage. For example, twice as hot is very good, but it beats the point of the build. The build has the point to apply burn to the enemies, let them die. Don't deal extra damage, you don't care, you will die by applying burn. That's why we increase our anomaly damage, and we don't rely on twice as hot or untamed power on weapon modes that don't apply burn. If you want to do this, I will recommend something different, but this is cool and the theme of the build, but you can of course do that because it's your gameplay, you do whatever you want, so twice as hot can fit very good, especially since you will apply burn to all the enemies, and 30% extra damage per to anomaly power, it's very good and much better for untamed power. If you're a good shot and go for criticals and get Mage's Rage to just combine everything, Arms and Anomaly is very good, so you can go with that as well. And Danger Close, in case you want to go with a reload boost and you don't care about long range damage, this can actually be decent. Sometimes I get surrounded by enemies, at least 2, 3 or 4, and it stacks up to 4 times, so basically you can max it out pretty decently, or go right to the face of the boss, tank it, let the adds go near you and get maximum value of this. So yes, this can fit pretty decent in this build. Apart from that, I'm not interested in using other mods. I don't want to increase the damage of the heat wave. I want heat wave only to apply burn, and that's the reason I'm using the Scorched Earth. Not because of the extra damage, but because it re-inflicts burn and debuffs the enemies when it comes back. However, you can of course go with a combo like Irradiation Wave or Radiation Flames and Trample the Weak if you want to increase damage percentage. Or if you go with Anomaly Mutation and apply Toxic and Bleed to the enemies, you can actually replace 2 mods with like a Euthanizer and Tainted Blood, because you will be applying Bleed and Toxic to those enemies, which you can basically do it in case you want to just fit the theme and further increase probably your single target DPS a little bit. So for the weapons, once again, I don't want mods to do damage. I don't want Claymore Torrent, I don't want anything else. The ideal scenario is Mage's Rage if you want Fortress, and basically Firestorm or Anomaly Mutation. Firestorm because it applies burn and can spread out to enemies in long range. I do like Anomaly Mutation. Omen can be decent because it applies bleed and increases the damage of the enemy by extra 10%. So this is actually quite decent in case you find it in combination with others, and in case you want to have burst damage, you can add something like Violent Rapture or Ultimate Stormwind, but personally I don't like them and I don't want to do them. And Ultimate Damage Link can be very decent in case you want to link the enemies and just let them burn even faster, and in case you plan to shoot your weapon of course, and go with a not so much reload boost approach. The obvious change you can make is replace volcanic rounds or ash blast. Probably volcanic rounds is the best to make a little easier the build with phaser beam. Basically the damage you will deal it's much better, and I don't have the best pieces yet. If this has status power, I will be around 140% status power, which is quite decent considering we will get even more status power thanks to our packs tree. So it makes sense to use phaser beam to increase your single target DPS, but for me it beats the point and the theme of the build. That's why I go with volcanic rounds, but this is something you can definitely do to increase your single target DPS to kill the enemies faster in case you want it. There is no strict rotation for this build. We need to use Heatwave, hit as many enemies as we can, debuff them, increase Anomaly power thanks to the Akari set, and inflict burn. Spam Ash Blast on cooldown to stun the enemies, debuff them, and deal more damage. And then now it's the volcanic rounds. You can either use your AK to just empty it fast. I think you need around 3-4 seconds to empty the AK, shoot the enemies on very long range, apply burn, let them die, or apply burn to few enemies and reload. This way you will proc Fortress, you will proc the reload boost, and you will also proc the convection. That's why I do like this build. This is my personal favorite. Now, you can of course get your big LMG with 100-150 bullets, use volcanic rounds, apply burn to the enemies far away, use heat wave to those that are come closer, apply Ash Blast, and rinse and repeat. This is a little better to just snipe enemies far away, and you don't have to focus fire, just shoot them once or twice to make sure you apply burn, proc Fortress, and apply burn to the others that are far away. You can actually farm a lot of areas using this tactic without having the enemies close by. Now, if you do this, make sure to use Heat Wave and Ash Blast even if you don't hit the enemies. The only reason we do this because Ash Blast we will increase our anomaly power because of hot situation, and Heat Wave will proc Magma Elemental. So this way, even if you basically apply burn with volcanic rounds, you will still have the extra resistance piercing and the extra anomaly power while using both of the other skills. Against bosses, pretty straightforward, spam Heat Wave, Ash Blast, and volcanic rounds with Firestorm if you like, and just watch them die. You can kite them, you can apply burn and run. That's the very good side of the build, because moving to the upsides and downsides, there is probably no downside. Only that you do not kill the enemies fast, so you don't use, for example, overheat to apply millions of damage to the enemies and instantly kill them. However, the huge upside of this build, you can apply burn to the enemies once, most of the enemies, and they will definitely die. Apply burn, leave them alone, they're dead. The same goes for elites. A heat wave that will hit them twice, it's 90% dead, especially if you have extra proc from the fortress and everything else and the debuff. And yeah, that's a big upside. Apply burn, and as long as enemies are burning, because we have a lot of hit points, we will never die. And if you invest in one survivability mode, you probably never ever going to die as long as you apply the burn to enemies. Before we look at all the armor and mods, I have to give a huge shout out to Bozzyfield, because he made possible, he and I think his team, Outriders Worldslayer app. Using this app, you can create your builds, export them, share them with your friends, with the community, much easier. And now I will be able to show you at the end of each video the whole build with everything, all the mods, all the weapons and everything. Thank you very much. Go watch his app on Reddit. It's very good, and I 100% approve of this. And this is the build basically in one picture. Thanks to the new app, I can set the build and the optimal version of the build. This is the optimal version I'm going because now I have included the weapons I want. To have improved vulnerability bullets, fortress, firestorm, or anomaly mutation fortress and improved vulnerability bullets for a full auto AR or an LMG or a fully automatic pistols with the ideal attributes. The ideal attributes for the epic pieces, anomaly power, status power, cooldown reduction, and of course for the two mods that we're missing, I would probably wanted arms and anomaly, because you can go for one critical every 6 seconds, especially if you go with an LMG version, and damage absorber, so we will basically never die. And yeah, this is what you can use. Feel free to pause the video, make a screenshot, and have a look at everything. So this is it, the burn everything, kill it with fire. I do love this build. I started it as most of the theme build, which is the theme build. However, it's very good, it's very powerful, it has long range, it has close range, it has debuffs, it applies burn, it's decent for the timers, not the fastest for the speedrun. Yes, the pyromancer has a faster build using detonator instead of focusing on volcanic rounds or something like that and apply burn to enemies, but this is much better for, I believe, beginner players. It's easier to use, apply the burn, watch them die, and that's it, have fun. So that was it for today's video. I really hope this will help you make your own variation of the Kill It With Fire Ultimate Burner build. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch it. Extra thank you in case you stick around until the end. Feel free to like and subscribe for more upcoming videos for Outriders Worldslayer and other video games. And as always, I wish you all a wonderful day.